to talk about housing, and that'll be the last kind of maybe specific example that we'll get into. But the reason is just
Mhm.
because it is obviously a massive problem. You go through your life, accumulate, as you talked about accumulating assets, one of the biggest assets that you have is your home. I think a lot of people struggle with this idea that, well, that's where all my net worth is. And obviously now I'm comfortable. I don't want to, I don't necessarily want to enter a new phase of life. And so I think housing is naturally difficult. One of the examples I was going to share is, what I've started to see in the last couple of years that I found really exciting is 55 plus active communities. My parents
Yes.
recently, maybe 5 years ago, went through the transition where they sold their house. They pocketed all the equity. They can now invest that. And now they are back, kind of weirdly to paying rent, but they're doing it in a 55 plus active community. What are you seeing there that's exciting you? What do you hope that you see there soon in that space?
I am obsessed with this space. I think it is so smart, not just from a financial management perspective, to your parents' example, but from a
Community.
socialization and community and
Yeah.
fun and vibrancy. And to me, it's like going back to college, like to not view it as as a waypoint on the way to assisted living, which is the way it had always kind of been
Mhm.
presented in some ways, that it was a that to really make it aspirational. And thank goodness for the people that licensed Margaritaville, the brand, to senior housing to kind of change the narrative on it. And people joke, but the largest CCRC, or what that's what called, kind of an independent adult retirement community, is called the Villages in Florida.
Hmm.
And that place is a waiting list to get in, because it's a huge community of people who all want to enjoy these years. So the types of companies we've seen, there's a company called Upside Home, that is helping turn apartment buildings with, effectively individual units to have some of that infrastructure that makes it feel more like a retirement community, so that people can downsize into apartments. There's a company called Sunbound that helps you manage the downsizing of your home, and kind of there's so many transactions and so many fees and so many things. And I think we're going to continue to see senior living operators develop hybrid models. There's some that basically offer their services into the community, so for people who want to age in place, to be able to do that. And then lastly, we're invested in a business called Fraction. It is a way to tap into your home equity. I think increasingly there will be this shift in narrative that your home is just your piggy bank. And as opposed to the shame of, I have to sell my house, and that is always historically with reverse mortgages and things like that, it's always seemed like a predatory, I have somehow failed, and so I have to sell my home in order to make ends meet. It's just part of your balance sheet, and you're liquidating it as you need the cash. And so the more that we get comfortable talking about asset decumulation, not as a sign of failure, but as a sign of longevity, and just a part of longevity, the better off we are. And businesses like Fraction, that's how they're approaching the conversation with an aging population, to say you should just sell some of your home equity now so that you can live the life you want.
Makes sense. I want to ask a big question to kind of wrap all of this up, which is, when if you're wildly successful at Primetime Partners, which I think you will be, and you talked about having, I think you have 3 kids.